We are going to actually be creating web pages this week, and we are going to transfer them to the internet. So in your book, you're going to start by reading the pages that I have indicated here from chapter 2. And you'll notice that it is not all of chapter 2. We're only reading the pages that we need to create the structure for our page using HTML5. Once you read those pages, then you are going to work through the lecture demo. Now, the lecture demo has a lot of information in it, more information than the book. The book is a reference book, but it doesn't include everything that you need to know. So at the top of the lecture demo, it basically outlines the different types of tags that we are going to be looking at. These tags are part of the markup language that provide the structure in your web page. So we kind of start by giving you a little rundown here on the history of HTML. And then we get into creating a web page itself. These elements that are displayed here, tags are also called elements. The term is kind of interchangeable, but these elements are the minimum that you need to actually create a web page. Okay, and then the section below that describes what each of those structural tags does. You know, the purpose of each tag, which is also something that you need to know. Inside the tags, we have something called attributes, which are just features that you can add to specific tags. And quite often, the features involve formatting and presentation. So they utilize CSS. So we have an ID and a class attribute that we are actually going to be using throughout the semester. A lot of students get confused between those two. The main difference is that IDs should be unique. So you should only put an ID in one tag. And you should not put the same ID in multiple tags. One of the reasons for this is that server-side scripting languages like JavaScript use those unique IDs to access parts of the page. For classes are a little different. Classes are typically used to identify multiple sections of a page. So you can put them into multiple elements, and quite often they're used for formatting. This next section gets into the semantic elements, which are new. They are part of HTML5. They're not part of earlier versions of HTML. And the semantic elements actually have meaning. Okay, and so an article basically means anything that's inside an article tag, inside an opening and closing article tag, means that it's independent, self-contained content. And so there are some examples of when you would use article. And then section is really for, you know, labeling different parts of a page or different segments of an article. Okay, and you can nest these tags inside each other. Okay, and you can actually put section inside article, but you could also put article inside section. So this kind of describes how these different tags are used. I do have interactive examples in here. And then we get into what an aside is. And the purpose of an aside is kind of like additional information. And so this is kind of how the HTML looks. But asides must be formatted using CSS. And once they're formatted, it'll display more like this with the aside data actually on the side. Okay, so then we get into another new semantic feature, details and summary, which are kind of cool because you can open and close that section. Okay, so you can kind of read through here. There are examples that show you what it looks like in the page, and there are examples that are showing you the actual markup language itself. So as you go through here, you'll note that when I am showing you interactive examples, and then eventually you will get to links where you can actually try the code out yourself. And I love these because this is how you learn. You have to get your hands on it. So this little interactive page is to let you practice headings. So you can kind of see what they look like. And then you can change them, right? So what if we change heading to just a regular old paragraph? Now we can run it and you can see how it looks different. And what if we change that paragraph to heading 1? Okay, so you can kind of see it change. You don't really have to worry about messing up here because you can just reload the page and it goes back to what it was before. This one is letting you kind of play with headings, but also something called a horizontal rule, which is just a separator line. So if I put that separator line above this section, okay, you'll notice I get a line above it. And then another thing you'll note here is that quite often there's opening and closing tags with content in between. But every once in a while, you'll run into a tag like horizontal rule that doesn't have a closing. Okay, that's because there's really nothing to display other than the line. The image tag is another one that you'll learn that does not have a closing, because in the image tag itself is the name of the image and everything you need to know. Okay, so every once in a while, you'll get these one-sided or single-sided tags. Most of the time, you'll have a double-sided. You'll have an opening and closing. In between is what you want to display. We do get into pre-formatted text, which is used for very simple text tables. There is a way to make a more complicated table, but we don't get into that for like 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, so this is showing you several paragraphs. If you want to see the difference, we make this a pre-formatted one. And we put in a bunch of spaces here. Normally it ignores extra spaces unless you do the pre-tag. Because with the pre-tag, it keeps those spaces in. Okay, that's what pre-formatting does. Okay, and if I change this back to a paragraph, you'll see that those spaces are ignored again. Okay, so we cover the span tag, which really is only used for formatting, like a portion of a sentence or a portion of a paragraph. Okay, so if it's not like a full paragraph or a full sentence or a full page, you can use span. And so here, span is being used to indicate that if someone from another country is viewing your page, they should not translate that word. Okay, so that word should stay in its original language. There's another one that you could use called content editable, which actually lets you edit content in the page. So that's actually kind of cool. It lets you temporarily modify the page. Okay, and so you typically don't have your whole page like that. You would just have whatever portion you want them to be able to edit. So the word orange, I made editable, so you could actually change this to whatever color you want it. Okay, and then we just go through some additional tags, and there's examples showing you what they do. We go through how pages are typically laid out. But just keep in mind that to get the page to look more like this, right, with a couple sections and then some text over on the right-hand side, you do need to use CSS, which we have not learned yet. So once you go through this and you've read through all of it, you've done the interactive examples, then you are ready to go through the textbook assignment. The textbook assignment is directive. So there are videos that are linked into it that show you and tell you everything that you need to do. Also, in this first textbook assignment, there are directions on how to transfer your files to the web. You are not going to receive your account information until the end of the first week of class. And the reason I wait till the end of the first week is because we have a lot of students adding and dropping, and our enrollment is not very stable. And I have to manually create all of these accounts. So I don't want to create accounts for students who aren't going to stay in class. And I don't want to miss anybody who registers late. So by the end of the first week, our enrollment is more stable. So that's when I create those accounts. When the accounts have been created, I will post an announcement to our class, which will come through your email. And in your NMC email is where you will see an email from me with your account information in it. Okay, and so you will need that information for the textbook assignment. So the textbook assignment involves creating web pages. So that is what you are going to be doing in this assignment. And most students find it extremely useful to watch the video and at the same time work on the assignment. So if you have two monitors, awesome. You can play the video in one monitor, you can open up VS Code in the other, and you can work while you watch the video. If you don't have two monitors, you can actually watch the video on your phone or on an iPad, okay, on any mobile device. And you can still watch the video and do the assignment on your computer at the same time. Okay, so we have several tasks that you need to complete. In this one, you can see that I'm showing you an example of what it should look like. In this one, you have to download a file. So the proper way to download files is to right click. And depending on the browser, it'll either say save target as or save link as. That is the command you want to use. Do not left click on it and try to use the file menu save as command. Do not do that because it'll mess up the structure of your page. And make sure you right click. And you'll open up that page and make some modifications to it. And then here's another one for you to download. So I'm giving you these files for you to download to save you some time typing. Okay, so basically after you download this, you will be adding structural, semantic, and formatting tags. Okay, so you'll be adding tags, but all of the text will be in there. Then we get down here to transferring files, and there is a video for that. Okay, and there's also graphics that kind of show you what to expect. And then it is kind of important after you transfer everything to go out to the web and take a look. So all of you are going to be under my domain, and then you do a slash, then you do your NMC user name, a slash, and this is lesson 2. Now everything is case sensitive out here. Okay, so if we just key in this, you see I have a CIT180 folder I can go into. This looks much like the directory on my hard drive, but I am on the internet. Here's lesson 2, and then I can kind of look at these files. Hey, you just want to make sure that everything got transferred and it all works the way it's supposed to. Now, what happens if you make a mistake and you need to retransfer? Okay, that's what this little section is showing you, how to retransfer and replace the bad file with the one that you fixed. Okay. This little video has some additional commands that you might find useful, like how to delete a file from the server, how to create a folder on the server, how to rename any kind of file on the server. And then we get into validating pages. Now, the validator is not perfect by any means, but if you display a page, you can actually copy the address. Okay, click up there, press Control and the letter C. You can go into the validator, and you can paste the address here by pressing Control and the letter V as in Victor, and then hit check. So it does have some warnings, and those you do not need to pay attention to. But if it had something that was actually an error, it would be marked in red. And the errors that I want you guys to look for would be typos, like you misspelled a tag or you're missing a closing tag. It sometimes will flag things as errors that are not errors. It does not like nested lists. So when we get into, I think it's lesson 5, and we're doing different types of lists, it will flag those as errors, but they're not. They're perfectly fine. So there are some times when it's going to flag things as an error, and there's nothing wrong with your page. Okay, but it is a good way, especially for beginners, to make sure that you haven't done any typos. So that is the textbook assignment. Once you are finished, and you're finished once it has been transferred to the web, okay, then you're going to come in the Dropbox and you're going to add a submission, and you're going to key in the word done. Okay, and you'll save it. That way I know it's ready for correcting. Okay, and once you finish the textbook assignment, then you are going to work on the lab assignment. Now, normally the lab assignments are pretty open-ended. There are minimal requirements that you need to meet, but you get to be creative. You get to choose your own content. That is how most of them work. For the first lab assignment, this is actually going to be an assignment page. And so the page is one that you will eventually have links to all of the exercises for this class. Okay, and you'll be formatting it with CSS and all that kind of fun stuff. So to start with, your assignment page is just going to be text. And then once we learn CSS, you'll be adding the CSS to it. Once we learn how to do graphics, you'll be putting the graphics in. You'll be doing all sorts of neat stuff with that assignment page. But to start with, it's going to look something like this in VS Code. Okay, and you're just setting up for when we learn how to do links. When we cover links, these will be converted into links to the actual assignment pages. Okay, so this is the first lab assignment. Okay, and it should look something like this, but obviously instead of my name, you're going to have your name. Instead of August 30th, 2019, you're going to have the current date in there. Okay, and then you need to transfer that page. And where that page is going to go is below your lesson 2 folder. So if we come over here and you look, you can see the assignment page is below all the folders. And yours is just going to say assignments.html. You can see I have another one out here. So this is another one. Yours is just going to say assignments. Okay, and it should be below your lesson 2 folder. Okay, so that is your lab assignment. Then the last thing that you need to do is post to the discussion forum. So I feel like it is important for you to find pages that you really like. Because when you can discern what you think is good in a web page, that will actually give you something to strive for when you're developing your own pages. So what I want you to do is look for award-winning sites and then find one that you like. And once you find one you like, you're going to post a link to that site, explain what you like about it, and then point out anything that you don't like. And then to read the postings from the other students and reply to 2 of them. Okay, so we'll go in here. And so we'll do award-winning HTML5 websites. And you can see there's just all sorts of hits here on that topic. And it does not matter to me which one you guys pick, as long as you can get to the actual page. So sometimes you have to click several times. Okay, that's kind of fun. Okay, so I do like the parallax effect here, the scrolling effect that it has. I do like the animation. I think it's fun. I like the graphics, but I do think that they could, there's things that they could do to enhance the graphics. They could round some of the edges. Especially this graphic, they could have made it a little transparent. I do like the animation here on the circle. That's really cool. So I would click on this, press Control and the letter C to copy, add a new discussion topic. And that was a yoga site. And I will put example. All right, so to get a link in here to the site, I'm going to click on link, Control and the letter V. And I'm going to open it in a new window, or let you guys open it in a new window. And then what do I like? Let's see. So I'm just going to list pros and cons. So I like the scrolling. And then I'll just say some of the graphics were distracting and could have been more transparent or placed, or I'll say laid out differently. Okay, so that's the type of thing that you need to do. And let's see, is there anything else? I do like how they've got their logo displayed. And I like how they've got the mouse, how that's changed. That is kind of cool. Yeah, so I like how this one is laid out, but not all of the page is laid out like that. Like, I don't like that. Okay. So I'm going to say branding because that's their logo. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and post that. Okay, and then that's the type of thing that you guys are going to do. And then once your classmates have posted, you can come in and kind of look at their sites that they pointed out and find two and reply to them. So that is what you need to complete this week. If you have any questions or run into problems, please let me know because I am here to help you.